Sirens blared across Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel after a missile launch from Yemen was intercepted. Explosions and bright flashes lit up the night sky as air raid sirens sounded across more than 200 locations, including Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and settlements in the West Bank. Israeli media reported that flights at Ben Gurion Airport were suspended, with all takeoffs and landings halted following the attack. Millions of residents were forced into shelters as the situation unfolded. The Houthis have targeted Israel with missiles and drones from thousands of kilometers away, calling their attacks acts of solidarity with Palestinians amid the ongoing conflict. Lebanese President Aitaroun affirmed that civil peace remains above all other considerations and that it is his duty of the army and security forces to preserve it. He pointed out that the efforts of the army and security forces were the reason Lebanon was able to regain its safety and stability. He stressed that it is unacceptable to direct any criticism or attacks towards the army and security forces.
دولتهم قد عادت وأن ثقة العالم بلبنان يجب أن تعود كاملة لأن لبنان الحقيقي الأصيل قد عاد أما الباقي كله فنحن.
An Israeli drone launched a strike on the town of Aitaroun in Bin Jabil district in southern Lebanon, with reports indicating as a result of the attack. This targeting comes after a similar strike carried out by an Israeli drone that hit a house in the town of Humin al-Fawqa, also in southern Lebanon, at a time when Israeli aircraft continue to fly intensively at low altitudes over the Zahrani area. The Israeli Occupation Army announced that a soldier was seriously wounded in an explosion at one of its military posts in southern Syria. In a statement, the Army's reserve officer was severely injured today as a result of an explosion near the Israeli military site in southern Syria. It added the officer was evacuated, treatment at a hospital, and his family have been notified. The head of Syria's Supreme Committee for People's Assembly elections, Mohammed Taha al-Ahmad, announced the closure of candidacy applications for membership in the People's Assembly across the country's 50 electoral districts. He added that the number of candidates reached 1,578, with women making up 14% of the total. The percentage of female candidates varied from one province to another. He noted that voting will take place on the morning of Sunday, October 5th, starting at 9 a.m., with polls closing in the evening, after which the vote counting process will begin at 4 p.m. And to Russia now, the Kremlin has said that Russian military experts are closely monitoring reports of potential U.S. long-range Tomahawk missile supplies to Ukraine, but expressed skepticism about their effect on the conflict. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov emphasized the importance of clarifying whether targets would be handled by the United States or Ukrainian forces before deciding on any response. He dismissed the idea that these missiles could alter the situation on the front lines, calling them no magic weapon. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia would answer for all it is doing following a wave of missile and drone strikes that killed 4 people, including a child, and injured over 80 across Kyiv, Zaporizhia, and other regions. Zelensky condemned the attacks on civilian areas and energy infrastructure, calling them part of Russia's ongoing campaign to plunge Ukraine into blackout conditions. Zelensky urged Europe to approve a 19th sanctions package targeting Russian energy exports and its shadow tanker fleet, which Ukrainian intelligence says may be used to launch drones at European targets. He also called on the United States to take stronger action to pressure Russia to end war, following talks with President Trump. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged European partners to build a joint aerial defense shield to counter Russian threats. Speaking at the Warsaw Security Forum via video link, Zelensky highlighted Russia's recent drone attacks on Poland and airspace violations in the Baltics as tests of NATO's resolve. He stressed that Ukraine has the capability to counter all types of Russian drones and missiles, and said that working together in the region would provide enough weapons and production capacity to defend against these threats. Zelensky added that if Russia loses its abilities to strike from the air, it would struggle to continue the war. He also noted a shift in U.S. President Trump's stance on Ukraine and European security.
And this is possible. Ukraine can counter all types of Russian drones and missiles, and if we act together in the region, we will have enough.
German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul has warned that NATO will respond firmly and collectively to Russian hybrid attacks targeting member states. Speaking at a press conference in Warsaw along his Polish and French counterparts, Wadephul accused Russia of trying to test our resolve, he said, and stir unrest, calling the actions dangerous and unacceptable. He stressed that no NATO country would face such threats alone, reaffirming the alliance's commitment to protect every inch of its territory. British Foreign Minister Yvette Cooper has condemned Russia's continued aggression against Ukraine, calling it a reckless, dangerous provocation. Speaking at the Labour Party conference in Liverpool, Cooper highlighted recent Russian drone activity over Poland and Romania and the incursion of fighter jets into Estonian airspace. Cooper told the audience that while President Zelensky and President Trump have advocated for peace talks, President Putin has instead continued to escalate the conflict, a statement that drew applause from both the crowd and the panel.
Or the determination of their friends. Ukraine's security is our security. Ukraine's fight is our fight. As Ukraine stands firm against Russia, Britain stands firm with Ukraine.
And to the United States, where dozens have gathered in Portland to protest President Trump's decision to deploy military forces to the Democratic-led city. The move follows Trump's announcement a day earlier authorizing 200 Oregon National Guard troops to protect federal immigration facilities from what he called domestic terrorists, with the use of full force if necessary. The deployment, ordered by Defense Secretary, or War Secretary now, Pete Hegseth, sparked immediate clash. Oregon filed a federal lawsuit on Sunday accusing Trump, Hegseth, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem of overstepping constitutional limits. Legal action was brought by Democratic Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield.